My name is Jessie Ace. I'm part of a group of enabled warriors that you've probably never heard of. We're fighting back against our invisible illness and taking the dis out of disability. We don't give sympathy to our symptoms. They enable us to be the warrior that we are. If you ask doctors and nurses, they'd say what we're doing is impossible. But pushing the limits of our conditions is something that we have to break through every single day. See, we push the limits. We are mentally strong, and we can do anything. The question is, how far can we push those limits? This podcast will give you the answers. I'm Jessie Ace, and this is the Disabled to Enabled podcast. Enabled Warriors, on our show today is the creator of ByZantine Design, founder of A Chronic Entrepreneur. She's a public speaker and she's changing the narrative of chronic illness in Melbourne after being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2013. And she set out with the goal to build the most beautiful trial store in Melbourne, which I have to say she's totally done, because after looking at her website, it's so amazing. You need to go on it, seriously. Enabled Warriors, please help me in welcoming the fabulous Dara. Woo! Hey. I am so excited to spend some time to getting to know you today, Dara. I'm so glad I came across your Instagram channel. It's just so cool. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today? You good?
I'm great, thank you. Yeah, it's a beautiful day in Melbourne. Spring's finally sprung, so
spring is finally sprung. I love that, because in the UK it's currently like we're saying goodbye to summer now. It's very sad.
Our winter felt like it was never going to end, so it was a bit Game of Thrones. So yeah, so it's nice.
We should do a switch. You can come to me in our summer, and then I'll come to you in your winter. It would be great.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's get straight in by discussing your initial diagnosis. So you were formally diagnosed in 2013, is that right? Can you tell us a little bit more about, how old you were, what happened that day, and just your experience of being diagnosed?
So I was 39. It was just after I'd opened the shop. So I built the shop myself. I had help with tradespeople, but it was I had moved to Melbourne from Sydney. It was very stressful, opened a shop, and was noticing little things like I was having a bath and the water didn't feel hot. And I just kept putting more hot water in, and things like I had felt numbness in weird places. And then I flew up to Sydney for a funeral and fell over in a shopping centre. And I had ankle boots on, and I thought that it might have just been the boot that had the heel. And by the end of that day, things started going numb on my right-hand side. And it all kind of, over the next week, just kept progressing over to this side of my body. And I went to my GP, and she had thought it was MS, so sent me to a neurologist.
Wow, so she thought it was MS right at the start.
Her sister-in-law has MS, so she thought, but then I went to this neurologist and he did testing, and he's like, you've got anxiety, I'm going to put you on some antidepressants. And I was like,
nah.
That doesn't sound right. This is more than anxiety, like I know. So it took another 6 weeks for me to get a referral. And within that time, I'd fallen over again, was walking with a walking stick, had optic neuritis, really bad in my right eye. Then it was starting in my left. And finally, he ended up, we got the referral for the MRI, and he brought me in on a Friday afternoon. My shop had been open 3 months at this point. It was just me working in there. And he pulled me in on a Friday afternoon, and he's like, well, you've got multiple sclerosis. And I was like, okay, but you told me I had anxiety. This could have all been a lot better situation. And he just didn't really say anything. And I even had to ask for, I said, have you got any literature for me? Like, you've just changed my life. Like, this is, a big deal, and you're not treating it as such. And he gave me some drug pamphlets and sent me on my way. He said, you have to go to hospital to go on steroids for the next few days. And I was like, well, I can't go I've got to work tomorrow. I'll go Saturday afternoon. He said, yeah. So I ended up in the hospital for 3 days on a steroid drip, and they did a lumbar puncture and And then the lumbar puncture turned into a 5-day migraine. So I had to close my shop. I couldn't move. And then I ended up, hired some staff, got some rehab, and like had to learn to walk again and everything. And here I am now.
That's incredible. I can't believe
That's a very...
that. You went all through all of that, and whilst opening your shop and running a shop, and oh my gosh, because the shop is stressful as it is.
But I think the shop saved me because it made me get up every day and do something.
Yeah.
While things were getting number and number, and I didn't know what was going on. So I just kind of sat there. At one point, when the optic neuritis hit, I was wearing an eye patch. Oh. So I was sitting in there feeling like a pirate, waiting. And luckily I didn't have many customers because the shop was new. So I could just I just sat there and, you know, if I had to watch movies, I just did. But it gave me that something to do every day. So. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Because that can be really hard. It really can.
It would have been really hard if I was working for someone, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Because then you've got the boss to convince, and you're like, no, look, I really need time off again, and you know, it gets stressful and messy, doesn't it? So can you describe the person that you were before the diagnosis and then the person that you are now? Like, has that changed any, do you think?
Yeah, huge change. I feel that I said I was diagnosed at 39, so it was about 6 months before my 40th. And I feel like it was my body saying to me, you know what, if you keep going this way, you're not going to be able to enjoy everything you've worked for. So you haven't listened to me, so I'm going to make you stop.
Really I thought that was what my body said to me as well. That's how I felt at the same time.
Yeah.
Weird, isn't it?
It was, yeah. So I used to smoke. I drank not huge amounts, but, you know, I would have nights drinking wine and just didn't really look after myself, was high stress. Like moving to a new city, new state, then building a business, building a shop all on my own. Like the stress in that was just insane. And yeah, I just didn't look up. I just kept going. I think that's the thing before you get done. You just keep going, you keep pushing yourself, you go out, you don't get enough sleep, and it just keeps compounding. And then you go, oh, I'll have the weekend and I'll sleep in and, you know, it should be right. But we all know that's not what happens, and your body just makes you stop because you're not listening to it.
Yeah, it has a unique way of doing that, doesn't it? So what was it that made you really want to change the narrative around chronic illness? What do you think the narrative currently is, and why does it need changing?
I think the word suffering is what bothers me. Like, this is Dara, she's suffering with MS. It's not correct. Like, it should be, this is Dara, she's thriving with MS. I think the suffering word is such a negative connotation, and it makes people think that, like, being diagnosed with chronic illness is the worst thing that could happen to you because you suffer. Like, you don't have to suffer.
Yeah.
It's hard,
yeah,
but you don't have to suffer. And I think that's the dialogue that needs to change, the wording around how we talk about it and things like that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, because everything is just, you know, it's like, oh, I'm an MS sufferer, I'm a fibromyalgia sufferer, I'm a this.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I'm not suffering.
Yeah, change the word suffer to thrive.
Yeah, I'm just like, you know, I have MS. MS doesn't have me. Do you know what I mean?
Correct. It's not my story. It's part of my story. It's part of who I am.
Exactly. Yeah, I could not agree with you more. Totally. So I'm intrigued to know as well about the methods that you're using to manage your illness. So you mentioned a mix of natural and clinical therapies. Can you tell me about that? Because I'm really intrigued.
So I didn't want to do the meds at all to begin with. And it took me about 18 months of, I think there were 3 or 4 MRIs where I was getting a considerable amount of new lesions every 6 months. And I went through 4 neurologists till I finally found one that I actually spoke to me like a human being. And because I wasn't, you know, I didn't want to go on the drugs, he actually sat me down and talked to me. Like, my first appointment was an hour and a half because he just spoke to me. And so I started on Tysabri, which I did have pretty rough side effects for about 8 or 9 months, but I persevered with it. Now I realize it was the best thing to do. I do a lot of kinesiology, and I believe that any autoimmune, it all starts as emotional trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that you've got to really work on that and clear that if you want to have a really good chance of managing it well. You've got to clear that stuff out because you've got years and years and years of banked up emotions.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I do acupuncture, I learnt meditation. I learned a couple of forms, but Vedic meditation for me is the best.
Okay.
What else do I do? So I eat well most of the time. Not, I've read all the books. What else do I do? So I have things like a morning routine. I have things like an evening routine. Stuff that just managing.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you are, but I know when I'm not doing well.
Mm-hmm.
When stress is getting to me, and I know the signs, and I just stop.
Yeah, and that's a big one as well, is recognizing those signs, recognizing those triggers, and just knowing how to counteract that, I think.
And I think that's the big gift of MS, or for me, getting sick, is that I know my body now. I listen to it, I respect it, and because I know if I don't respect it, I'll be.
It'll tell you.
Yeah, it'll take me out. Yeah, so you have to just be aware of it. And you have to learn. And
Absolutely. So can you take us through what your morning and evening routine looks like?
Yep. So in the mornings, I also do. Sorry, so I forgot to mention. I've done a Ayurvedic Panchakarma.
What is that?
So Ayurveda is the ancient Indian medicine. It's very similar to Chinese medicine. They've both been around for about 3,000 to 4,000 years.
Oh,
They
wow.
diagnose from the body. So they diagnose via your tongue and your pulse. And I went and did a 21-day Panchakarma, which is a full internal and external clean. So it's like a full detox. It's not pleasant, but you feel amazing at the end of it. And I feel like that's had a big impact on my health. So I try and do that every 18 months or so.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because you just kind of stop as well. So you're just nurtured, and you're fed, and you're massaged, and you do all these amazing treatments. So I think that.
Sign me up. You get fed and massaged? Yes, please.
Yeah, you just go to a little, and I do it in Bali, and you just go to a little window and you go, "Can I have some lunch?" And they're sure, and it just appears. You don't have to.
And it's in Bali as well. I'm like, hello.
Yep. Yes. I didn't want to go to India because I wasn't sure, but someone told me about one in Bali, and I was like, because it's only 6 hours from here. So, yeah, I was there. So, yeah. Sorry, I forgot what your question was before that.
Talk me through what you do in your morning routine.
Okay, so I do I get up, I try and do some exercise, like just something physical for about 10-15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I then oil pull, drink hot lemon water. And this is just what works for me. Everybody's different, and everyone needs to find their own things. And then I meditate for anywhere between 5 to 20 minutes, depending on how late I got up. And then I head off to my day. I also make my bed. Making your bed's really important.
It's the most crucial thing, I think. And I know it sounds like a really small thing, but I think that's the first goal that you achieve every morning.
You've accomplished something. Yeah. So and plus, you listen to Tim Ferris, Chase Jarvis, any of those guys, and that's what they all say: make your bed, and it works.
It creates order.
And then, sorry.
Creates order in your mind, I think.
Yeah. Yes, and it just means that your day's actually started, because the bed's not there tempting you to come back either.
Oh, I know.
Some days.
So it kind of is at the same time.
Some days you just want to stay. But then nighttime is like I eat as soon as I get home. So I eat really early, like 6 o'clock. I'm known for, like, if I meet friends for dinner, that we always have nana dinners. So 5:30, 6 o'clock.
I'm the same as well. I
Yeah.
don't eat late at all. I really don't.
Well, I'm in bed at like 9:30. So you've got to digest food as well. You don't want to go to bed on a full stomach. So
You don't sleep well if you do that. So.
no, exactly. And then night times it's just winding down. So it's either just watching some crap on Netflix that, you know, just doesn't make you think. Because, you know, when you run a business as well, you're 24/7. Like so I've just got to switch my brain off. Not look at emails, not look at anything. And then I'm an avid reader. So I just go to bed and read until I fall asleep.
Love that. I do that too. I can only sometimes manage like 4 or 5 pages and then I'm gone.
Yeah. Because I take melatonin every night, so you kind of just start drifting, and yeah.
Wow, that's really good. I think it's so important to have a routine morning and evening. It really is.
Yeah, because otherwise your body just doesn't know.
Yeah.
You got to let your body know that it's either getting ready for the day or it's switching off.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's not like it was back, 50 years ago, where everyone got up when the sun went up and went to bed when the sun went down. It's just not like that anymore.
No, we're in a 24-hour world now, aren't we? Everything's different. We've got so much more. I think what the real big change is the rise of mobile phones and laptops and digital devices, like everywhere. There are digital devices everywhere, and they all emit this blue light, don't they?
Yeah.
Which affects your sleep and it affects everything. So.
Yeah, I read on an iPad, but on a Kindle app, but I have it set on night setting, so it's a black screen with white writing, so it doesn't,
That's good.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what the Chronic Entrepreneur is all about? Because that intrigues me.
Yeah. So that was a project. It was initially a 12-month project that I'd been wanting to do since I'd been diagnosed, about telling, because I don't know, like when I was diagnosed, it was really hard to find any good news on the internet. It was, oh, you'll be in a wheelchair, you'll do this, you'll do, like, it'll just, your life will just go from here on in. And I just, I had just started my business. I just wanted to read something that made me feel good and made me know that what I had thought that I would be okay, and just to reaffirm that. Mm-hmm. So I did the project last year, and it was telling a story. I tried every week, of people with any chronic illness and who are overcome so many things and have a business. And a lot of the time now, a lot of people, if you've been diagnosed, you can't work 9 to 5, a standard 9 to 5 job in an office, because it just doesn't work like that anymore.
No.
So just wanting to let people know that there are other options. Like, you don't have to. Yeah, and it's working to your strengths and working out what you're really good at, and then somehow turning that into a business that can work around your management of your symptoms.
Yes, definitely. And entrepreneurship in itself it's hard, but I think it's so rewarding at the same time. So, for example, it gives me the freedom to be able to go and have 2 hours sleep every afternoon, which my former employer would not have liked that at all.
No employer would like that or appreciate that.
No, exactly. And they don't get it either, which is a really difficult thing, I think, to try and explain.
But even the whole mode of people going to an office every day, working 9 to 5 in fluorescent lights.
Yeah.
Sitting in front of a computer, like, it's just not the way of the future. I just don't think there's so many new options now.
No, I know. And the thing that really annoys me at the moment is when you approach a company as a freelancer and you say, I can do this job from home and I can save you money because I don't have to be in the office, and it will be great because it can work for both of us. And they say, no, we need you in the office. You're like, why do I need to be in an office? Like, there is no point whatsoever. I'm going to sit at a computer there. I might as well be at home and sit at a computer here. I don't.
And you'll get more out of me because I can work like, you know, you work to the deadline.
Because
Yeah.
I'm not tired from the 2-hour commute that I'd have to have driving there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think businesses need to be a bit more flexible in the 21st century.
I think it will move that way. I just don't know, like big things like finance and stuff, banking and all that. I don't know if it'll work for that. But there's so many other opportunities now for people. I
Really?
don't know what it's like in the UK, but over here, it's in Australia, it's pretty, like there's so many options now.
Yeah, it's just great. I really like where everything's heading, to be honest. It's amazing.
Yeah, and the like, when I was diagnosed, I was listening to a talk by Dr. Terry Wiles, and she was saying that there are 25 million people in America with chronic illness and 50 million in a pre-state or non-diagnosed. That's 75 million people, and that was 6 years ago. You can imagine what the figures are now. So those people, like, in the future, how are people going to work?
Exactly.
So we have to you know, change the dialogue and help, you know, change the way that businesses work so that people can still, because you don't want to be a burden on the system, and a lot of people can work. They just can't work a traditional job.
Yeah, totally. But they're also not given the skills to be able to tap into that entrepreneurship that's probably in them, because the school system, and I talk about this a lot on the podcast, and it shakes me up. I'll be honest with you, it shakes me up. The education system drives me nuts, okay? Because it doesn't support entrepreneurship at all. And there's so much emphasis on you have to be good at writing essays, you have to be good at answering maths questions, but there's nothing that says, you know, this is how to take your creativity and make it profitable and turn it into a business. It's like,
well, Seth Godin talks about, you know, it's the whole factory mentality. School was essentially teaching everyone to become factory workers.
Yeah, and to be the same as everybody else as well. There's no individualistic approaches to it.
No, and it's like, come in, you have your breaks when you're told, you sit down, as it's like, you know, do what you're told. It's just like, it doesn't work. Like, people aren't like that anymore. Like, it's just not, we're not trained monkeys. It's, people are individual.
Exactly. But we're not being treated as individuals still, are we?
No.
Oh, it gets me annoyed. It does.
There's so many things that are broken. If we could just sort them all out, it'd be great.
We've got to fix them somehow, Dara. So where did your kind of entrepreneurship mentality kind of come from? Were your parents entrepreneurs or anything? Or?
No, I think my grandfather was. I had a business, like when I was in Sunday school. I started up a canteen in Sunday school.
Oh, wow.
So that was like when I was 13 or 14, and I tried a few other little, like making picture frames, which was an absolute disaster. I just tried a few little things, and then I got into the tile industry, and I always thought I could do a better job than anyone I worked for.
I love that.
So I just had this dream of having my own store, and then the reality of actually having a store and seeing all the other stuff you had to do. But I love it. Like, I love having a business, and I love the challenges of business, and I would be a terrible employee now.
I say that as well.
I have to keep, if the shop fails or whatever, I'm just going to keep finding things to do and not actually work for anyone else.
Yeah, totally. It's funny, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I love your website, and the thing that I really, really love your website, and this is going to sound like total geeky, but the mood board that you have at the top of each tile page, oh my god, like, I'm a graphic designer, and I absolutely love that. That is just like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh god, that's so pretty, and then I'd go to the next page and I was like, oh my god, that's so pretty too, and then I'd go to the next page. Oh my god, like, if I went on there to choose tiles, I would spend hours trying to choose tiles because I love them all.
Yeah, it's tiles they're having a moment again, which is really nice. So I just kind of curate the collection to be what I like. which seems to translate into what other people like as well. So it works quite well.
That's so awesome, because you do a lot of like vintagey sort of styles as well, which I love.
Yes.
Love a whole vintage style. Oh my gosh.
I love mosaics. That was the whole, yeah.
Was that your kind of inspiration of how you got into the whole tile world?
I got in because I wanted to do interior design and couldn't afford any of the courses, and then saw an ad for a big tile company over here, and it said in the ad, an interest in interior design would be advantageous. And I was like, boom, that's me. And my first day, this girl said to me, she goes, "Oh, once you start in the tile industry, you'll never leave." And I was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
20 years later, yeah, I'm still in it. I have my business, and seen so many changes. So
that's so awesome. I love that. So how do you find running a business with chronic illness? Do you find it quite challenging, or have you developed some kind of coping techniques to be able to juggle everything?
it was in the first couple of years when I was still, I think when you're first diagnosed, it takes a good 2 to 3 years to actually just work out what's MS and what's not. Because anytime something's not right, you go, oh, am I having a relapse? Am I, you just panic with everything.
And the amount of times I rang up my MS nurse and I was like, I don't know if this is MS or if it's just my body being weird, but this is
Exactly right. And you just don't know, and you panic, and it was hard. So I had some girls that worked for me, which was great. So I could, and in the first couple of years of the business, it was pretty quiet. So there were times I could just leave, or again, I would just turn up. And if I had to watch movies all day, I just did it, because it was better for me to be at work than to be lying at home on the couch feeling sorry for myself. So I just got up every day and did it. But it's hard. Some days it's hard. But I'm like healthiest I've ever been. So I don't even think about MS every day now.
That's really good.
Which is a really nice place to be in.
Until someone says, "I want a podcast to talk about your MS."
Yeah. No, that's fine. I'm happy to do that. But when it's not, when you're first start, like every day you think about it all day.
No, I know.
I have MS. Yeah. Now it's just kind of like, just is.
Yeah. It's just there. And that's the amazing thing. When you get to that stage, I think that's when you really own it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think there's people that kind of and it's so easy to do, and I've done it so many times in like the starter part, where you just kind of say to yourself, well, do you know what, I don't feel well today, so I'm just going to stay on the sofa. I'm having a sofa day today. And that's really counterproductive, actually, because it doesn't make you feel any better. It actually makes you feel worse. And you've really got to push through that and set yourself a goal and just say, do you know what, I might not feel great today, but I'm going to do this and I'm going to own it. And
getting a dog for me helped.
Yes, that helped me too.
That was the best thing. I would, on weekends, I'd be exhausted, so I just kind of sit on the couch and watch Netflix. But having Fergus just makes me get out.
Yeah, you're accountable. That's what it is. It's accountability.
Yeah.
You've got this little thing there going, take me for a walk, Mummy, take me for a walk.
I know, and it just, but you get out and then you start talking to people and you just feel so much better. Like I've moved down near the beach now, and we're out at the beach every weekend, just walking, because he loves it, I love it. They change your life. Yeah,
totally. Like, I love going for a walk with Lucy when with around like all the forest area, because we're in the heart of the forest. So literally wherever you turn, there's just loads of trees, which I love. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's just the best thing ever to be outside in the fresh air, especially when it's a nice day, and you're just like, this is so nice. So yeah, it really
I got out of the house. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So, you never have a bad walk, ever.
No. Well, my dog goes ballistic whenever she sees another dog, so if we see too many dogs, it turns into a bad walk. But yeah.
You never regret it though. It's just, so.
It's brilliant. Oh gosh. So you spoke a lot about life hacks when you're public speaking and things. Can you share any of those life hacks with us today, do you think?
Well, it's all stuff like just the pillars that make up wellness. That whole wellness is such a tainted word now, I think, though, which drives me crazy. But maintaining your health, I guess, is the thing. And it's simple things like the morning routine.
Yeah.
And the evening routine. And with the morning routine, I just started, I kind of decided what I wanted to do, what I wanted the end to look like. So over 4 or 5 weeks, I just implemented one thing a week. And then just bring it into your routine gradually. And if it doesn't work, you kind of just get rid of it and replace it with something else. But and you've got to do everything slowly. You don't just try and do everything all at once, because no one can maintain that. It's just not I can't, give yourself a list of 10 things to do in the morning. And if you don't do them, you feel like a failure. It's also being kind to yourself, because sometimes you just can't get it all done, and it's okay. The world doesn't stop. You're okay. Everybody's okay. And then the evening routine, things like exercise, just moving, all the things that you're always told, and you actually do them and go, oh, that's right. Like, exercise does help. Meditation is a huge, huge pillar of what I do. Breathing, I find, when you're stressed, you forget to breathe.
Yes.
And if you actually just stop for a minute and just take a deep breath in, and you just feel much better. And
you really do, because you're changing the way that you breathe as well. So when you're stressed, you have more shallow breathing, so it's more like which is just blah. And then as soon as you increase the length of the breaths that you do, you're getting more oxygen into your cells, and it just feels so much better. It calms you down instantly.
Your body needs oxygen. It needs it needs to do all that, to function. So you just look at how we lived, 100 years ago compared to now, like
so different.
So different. And even just eating, and I got rid of all toxins out of my life. So I did. Yeah. So all my beauty products, all my house products, there's no plastic. I try not to, as much as possible. I don't use any beauty products that have got toxins or fragrances, any of that stuff in it. Things like your washing powder, all that. Alex Stewart, she does a low tox course, which is amazing. It's a 30-day course that you just do online, and you gradually get rid of everything. That's probably.
That sounds great, because there's so many carcinogens, isn't there, that's just in everything that you actually don't even realise that it's there.
That's why we're all sick. We've just allowed this to happen for convenience, and as a result, people are getting sicker and sicker.
Yeah, it's true.
So again, it's dialing it back to how we lived 50 years ago. Like the thing that weirds me out the most, like, there's vegetables and then there's organic vegetables. Why are the ones with chemicals not got the name to it? Like, it should be chemical vegetables and organic vegetables.
It's crazy, isn't it? It really is. There's always that thing with organic vegetables, though, where you kind of go, is it really organic, or are you just kind of sprinkling some soil on it and saying that it is? But
do you have to, like over here, they have to go through big certifications to even say that?
Yeah.
I shop at farmers markets a lot, so you actually talk to the farmer.
That's really cool. So we don't have a lot of farmers markets in the UK.
Okay, yeah.
If we have, I haven't found them.
I think we're pretty lucky over here with our produce. And there's a lot of big, like even with meats, there's a lot of grass-fed meats now instead of the grain-fed, because people are just more aware of what, the grain-fed is what's got the chemicals in it.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I was actually talking to somebody else about this the other day. We were talking about protein and how everybody thinks that you have to have a lot of meat for protein and things like that, but actually the animal has eaten all the protein because it's in the grass and things, and then so you're actually just cutting out the middleman, and if you just eat vegetables and fruit all the time.
Yeah,
instead of animal
Probably
cruelty.
better for the environment as well.
Mm. It's very interesting. I do find it very interesting.
Yes.
So is there any kind of advice that you could give someone who is maybe newly diagnosed, don't really know what's going on, a little bit confused and overwhelmed by everything? Like what would you say to them?
Everything's going to be okay. It's not, it's not the end. It might be the end of some things in your life, but it's also the start of some beautiful new things.
Oh, I love that.
And try and find the good news stories
Mm.
rather than trying to. And also, I mean, the biggest thing is you are your own advocate. You are the best person to argue with your doctor.
Yeah.
Like, ask questions, ask as many questions as you want, and do not be allowed to, feel bad about asking questions.
Mm.
Because I went through a lot of neurologists until I found someone. And keep files. I have files on everything. Just keep going until you get the people. You need a wellness team around you, which is something that, you create, you would know, like over time, you've got your people that you go to, that you trust, that will help you with whatever bits you need help with, if that makes sense. Yeah, so it's ask questions, do the research, reach out to people, read A Chronic Entrepreneur, because that's shameless plug, but that's at least shows you what people can achieve.
Yeah.
Like there are amazing stories on that blog, that people that just inspire you, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah. There's a saying that I like to say where everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, just not the end. That's one of the best quotes I've heard.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was from a film as well. I was like,
that's right. You should take credit for it anyway.
It's now mine.
Yes.
Oh, it's been amazing. Okay, so it is time for the super quick secrets round, everybody. Enabled Warriors, this is the part of the show where we find out a little bit more about the personality of our guest with some super quick secrets. Dara, are you ready for this?
Oh, I'm ready. Go for it.
I love this round so much. Okay, what is the most inspiring book that you've ever read?
I have two answers to this.
Love it. Okay.
Brene Brown is my most inspiring author.
Oh, I love her.
She's amazing. I saw her a few weeks ago. She came to Melbourne. Amazing. And then my favourite book is A Little Life by, I'm going to mess up the name, but yeah, it's the New York Times. It's a novel, and it's about 4 friends through their lifetime. And that was an amazing book that I just loved.
Oh, sounds good. Sounds good. They'll go on my reading list. Okay, what is the weirdest thing that you've ever done?
I didn't know the answer to this question.
What's your favourite place that you've ever visited?
New York.
New York. Ooh.
New York City, yeah. I haven't done a lot of traveling, but New York's just, there's something about it.
Has it got like kind of magic when you land down?
Yeah, have you been? Have you ever been to New York, or are you?
No, I really want to go though. Really
I think it's just one of those places, because you've seen it in all the movies.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're just like, I'm actually here. And it's kind of like it is in the movies, but even better.
Oh, amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Have you witnessed any taxi drivers shouting out of windows?
Oh yeah, they do that. They do that everywhere. Like that's just, yeah.
You can't beat the New York accent though, that's the thing.
No, and the full Brooklyn accent, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what is the scariest thing do you think you've ever done?
I guess the scariest thing that happened to me was getting my lumbar puncture.
Oh yeah, that
it was. It was a medical student that was in doing it, and then the MS nurse was in the room.
Okay.
And she must have been really nervous. It wasn't actually the lumbar puncture itself, but the lead up. So she was nervous, and I'm lying in the bed, completely vulnerable, having no idea what was going on. She dropped a metal tray, So that just, and then moved the metal drawers over and something fell out from the drawers. And I was just like going, what is she going to do? And I actually didn't feel the lumbar puncture at all. But the 10 minutes leading up to it, I was like, I have no idea.
Oh my God.
What? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
How this is going to happen. Yeah.
No. I would not be happy with that. It was
The poor nurse is just there going, it's okay. She's doing okay. She's just dropped something. It's got nothing to do with what's about to happen to you. And because I was like,
yeah, okay, that makes me feel better.
He's like, when you're in hospital, they just keep doing stuff to you and no one explains anything to you.
No, I know. You feel like a pincushion, don't you? You just like, keep coming up to you and sticking needles in you for some reason. You're like, what are you doing to me?
They're just like, we're just going to do a lumbar puncture. And it's like, okay, well, what is it? Oh, it's a needle in your spine. What? Like,
and you're like, lie down. You're like, okay.
Yeah. And they're like, and you have to stay lying down for the next hour. It's like,
wow. Oh my God. Ugh. No, I didn't like that. No, I had a student once take my blood in a GP surgery, and the nurse was like, "Oh, do you mind if the student takes the blood so she can get the experience from it?" And I was kind of like, "Oh, well, go on then." Like students need to learn and all of that stuff. I was terrified of needles at the time, and she did this blood test, and she must have done it about 5 times. Like she couldn't get the right place. And I nearly passed out because it was just so many needles in one go. I was just like, I can't deal with it. And the bruise that I had afterwards was just like massive on my arm.
It looks like you, yeah.
Wow. So yeah.
I get the Tysabri sometimes depends on who's putting the IV in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it just makes me go all funny.
Yeah. You get good at needles though, like you just kind of.
You do get good at needles, yeah. I totally get that. I was rubbish at them to start off with, but I found out the other day that I used to have this specific blood nurse that I went to see at the hospital because she was in the EMS department and she was like the registered kind of MS blood nurse, and she was really, really nice and she was the best nurse ever. And the last time that I saw her, I actually, for some reason, I had my blood taken and then I threw up over her. It's never happened before. It was so embarrassing. And I later found out that she's actually retired now. And I hope that it wasn't because of me, because that was really bad. But I felt terrible. Oh my God.
You're the only person that's done that. Like, I think nurses are amazing with all the bodily functions that have to.
God, seriously, my best friend is a nurse, and the things that she tells me, I'm just like, why the heck are you a nurse? Like, just I wouldn't want to be.
They're amazing people. Like, it's not a job that I could do, but just have so much respect for them.
Crazy, it's crazy.
I'm not wired that way. Yeah. It's got to be wired that way to do that job. Yeah.
You seriously do. Yeah. Oh wow. So where can the Warriors find out more about you, Dara, and what you do?
So a chronic entrepreneur, website or Instagram. And then ByZantine Design, Instagram is ByZantine_design, or the website as well.
Awesome. I will link all of those in the show notes as well. Everybody listening, so you can go and check Dara out and her beautiful mood boards, which I absolutely love. I'm such a mood board geek. I really am. Oh my gosh, it's been such a great time chatting to you today, Dara. It's been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge and everything. You're just amazing, and please keep going with A Chronic Entrepreneur and changing the narrative, because it's so vitally necessary. It really is.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for being here, and we will catch up soon. And speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
If you want to fight back against your invisible illness and help take the dis out of disability, then join the tribe on Facebook, facebook.com/enabledwarriors. If you love this podcast, click that subscribe button and never miss another episode. And remember, warriors, stay enabled.